Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Elon Musk says, fire Bob Iger, Disney CEO, immediately. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Coming from Business Insider, Elon Musk goes off on Disney CEO Bob Iger, says he should be fired immediately. Elon Musk is the uncancelable billionaire. Musk's SpaceX signs deal to launch EU satellites. So as much as the EU is going to push back on Twitter because the EU does not like free speech, Elon Musk is still needed by the EU for satellites. So he's going to get away with it. From Business Insider, it looks like Elon Musk's SpaceX is now worth $175 billion. That's more than Disney or Comcast. Elon Musk isn't letting up in his beef with Disney CEO Bob Iger. The Twitter boss trashed Iger on Thursday, writing on Twitter that he should be fired immediately and that Walt Disney himself is turning in his grave over what Bob has done to his company. Musk pounced on news that New Mexico's Attorney General had sued Meta and its CEO and longtime Musk rival, Mark Zuckerberg. The lawsuit alleges that Facebook's social networks aren't doing enough to protect kids and that Instagram and Facebook were not safe places for children, but rather prime locations for predators to trade images they should not be trading and solicit minors for things they should not be soliciting, according to Attorney General Raul Torres. One user on Twitter posted out that Disney was still advertising on Facebook. The company recently pulled its ads from Twitter after Musk supported supposedly an anti-Semitic post, which was not anti-Semitic. Musk chimed in, misspelling the Disney CEO's name. Bob Iger thinks it's cool to advertise next to child exploitation material. Real stand-up guy. He did misspell Bob Iger's name, and it's pretty funny because it's like Elon Musk could care less because he really is a multi-billionaire. He is under no threat to shut down Twitter. He has Twitter. He's going to keep Twitter because he likes Twitter. In the last year, Elon's net worth went up $85 billion. It's not my money. It's his money. Good for him. But he doesn't need to worry about a couple of $100 million worth of advertising one way or the other. We'll get into that in more detail. When another user asked why Iger hadn't been fired yet, Musk replied he should be fired immediately. He also responded to a news headline about his call for Iger's firing with one word: truth. It's Musk's latest attack on an advertiser who fled his platform. At the New York Times Dealbook Summit, Musk had a succinct and vulgar response to companies that wanted to censor his free speech. Go F yourself. At the event, Musk took the opportunity to single out Bob Iger. Quote, "Is that clear?" Musk asked. "I hope it is. Hey, Bob." Earlier at the summit, the Disney CEO was asked about his company's decision to pull advertising on Twitter. Quote, "We all know Elon is larger than life in many respects and that his name is very much tied to the companies he either has founded or he owns. Whether it's Tesla or SpaceX or now X," Iger said. Iger appeared to reference Musk's decision to boost an alleged anti-Semitic tweet last month that was not anti-Semitic. Quote, "By him taking the position that he took in quite a public manner, we just felt that the association with that position and Elon Musk and X was not necessarily a positive one for us," Iger said. Iger and Disney are one of many that Musk has taken aim at over the years. The billionaire has publicly dissed several major figures and companies, including Apple and President Joe Biden. Elon Musk doesn't own all of SpaceX, but he owns a big piece of it, and it's now worth $175 billion. Elon Musk has more companies, more money, and now because of Twitter, more influence than most other people on the planet. This article from Puck.News is by a retired investment banker, William Cohen, and he talks about in detail why Elon Musk is probably doing some of the things he's doing. Because to most of us, it doesn't look like it makes sense to pick fights with CEOs, curse out advertisers, apparently burn bridges. How can he possibly afford to do this even though he's rich? Why would he want to lose all this money on Twitter? You will remember, for one thing, Twitter supposedly was worth $20 billion less over the last year than it was worth when he bought it. Okay, if that's the case, then why should he care if he loses $500 million or $700 million worth of advertising from Twitter from corporate advertisers who are trying to limit his own personal free speech. Not only just control the platform, but control his personal free speech. Of course, he's not going to go for that. From Puck.News, notes on the Elon F-bombs. So what would happen if Twitter's advertisers actually did what Elon suggested and went and F themselves and stopped advertising completely on the platform? Is this just hyperbole, or is there a real threat that the company will go bankrupt? And if it does, what are the consequences of a Twitter bankruptcy? Firstly, the only reason Twitter hasn't already gone bankrupt is because it's owned by the world's richest man, whose wealth has somehow increased by $85 billion since he bought Twitter and now stands at $222 billion. It has $13 billion in debt, most of which is secured, and has very little cash flow. That's a recipe for financial disaster right away. Not only did Elon way overpay for the company at $44 billion, but he also saddled it with too much debt. If Elon weren't around to make the quarterly interest payments to the 7 banks that own Twitter's $13 billion worth of debt, to the tune of roughly $1.2 billion a year, there would already have been an event of default, meaning the company would be in bankruptcy. The banks would already have put the company into a Chapter 11 bankruptcy or tried to engineer an out-of-court restructuring or force a Chapter 7 liquidation of the company or sold off their debt at a severe discount and let some vulture investors, such as Apollo or DoubleLine, those are companies that buy debt that isn't being paid for, deal with Elon and his Twitter carcass. But none of that has happened because Elon has been making the quarterly $300 million of interest payments out of his own pocket. Not many people can afford to do that. So if Elon is willing to spend $1.2 billion a year to avoid a financial default on the debt, why is he repeatedly talking about bankruptcy and trying to assign blame for the latest disaster, for this latest advertiser boycott? As long as Elon is willing to make those quarterly interest payments, Twitter is not going bankrupt. Although 3 creditors who have not been paid, like landlords, cloud service providers, etc., could put Twitter into an involuntary bankruptcy. But what if Elon decides to stop making those interest payments? Well, that's when things could get really interesting. The debt would start to move. The big banks, including Morgan Stanley, Barclays, and Bank of America, that have clung to the debt would begin to sell it into the market for whatever low price it would command, and they would take their write-offs and say goodbye and good luck. At that point, Elon would be dealing with Apollo or DoubleLine or some other wise guys. That could get ugly. If Elon were to somehow engineer an out-of-court restructuring with this new aggressive, non-par buying lenders, he would most definitely lose control of the equity in the company, and the new creditors would own Twitter and be free to do with it what they want. Revamp it, resurrect it, sell it, or liquidate it. If instead of a consensual out-of-court restructuring, there is a Chapter 11 filing, then there will likely be a drawn-out court-supervised process where almost anything could happen. Imagine the possibilities. The creditors could end up with the company, the most likely scenario, or the lender that provides the debtor-in-possession financing could end up with the company. So when a company files bankruptcy, it means they can stop paying anyone they owe money to immediately. Then usually another financing source comes in, and that's the debtor-in-possession financing, and that's the money that the company uses to continue to operate. When the bankruptcy is settled, the debtor in possession is usually paid back first before any of the other creditors are paid back any money. It's an increasingly clever trick in bankruptcy proceedings lately where the debtor in possession lender asks for warrants in the reorganized company or a right of first refusal to buy it out of bankruptcy. Warrants are basically like stock options. So for providing that financing, they would get back an opportunity to buy into the company very cheaply, or maybe even buy the company altogether. Or a new source of capital could come in and sponsor a plan of reorganization by buying the newly issued equity in the reorganized company as part of the way the company exits bankruptcy. But guess what? Elon could be the new source of capital. Elon could buy the equity of the reorganized company from his former creditors. He could also buy the debt of Twitter at a discount and retire it just to keep control of Twitter that way. So if he stopped paying for the debt of Twitter, the banks that own that debt, around $13 billion of it, would sell it to other investors that buy debt that's not being paid for. The people that buy it wouldn't pay $13 billion for it. They would pay less because it's debt that's not getting paid, like someone that doesn't pay their car payment. Who wants that debt? Well, investors that know how to deal with that kind of problem do want that kind of debt as long as it looks like they can get a return on their investment for it. So if Elon decides, oh, well, Twitter's going to go into bankruptcy, that debt would probably be worth something like 20 or 30 cents on the dollar, meaning that $13 billion of debt would all of a sudden be worth around $3 or maybe $4 billion. Elon could come in then and sweep it up for maybe $6 billion and reduce his overall debt for the company. But there's a lot of risk in those kinds of maneuvers. The author says if anyone is clever enough to pull off a kind of stunt like this, it would be Elon Musk. He's betting that Elon is willing to play chicken with his creditors before this is all over. He must say on a big stage that Twitter is going to go bankrupt, but he bets that this is just the beginning of the next phase of the game he's playing. This game would be a renegotiation of Twitter's debt down from $13 billion to maybe $6 billion. Even though he can be very difficult to understand, Elon Musk does seem to know what he's doing, and he does not like the woke agenda, and he's going after Bob Iger directly. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.